reading for our sermon this morning is taken from Matthew chapter 24, entitled The Destruction of the Temple Foretold. As Jesus came out of the temple and was going away, the disciples came to point out to him the buildings of the temple. Then he asked them, "You see all these, do you not? Truly I tell you, not one stone will be left here upon another. All will be thrown down." When Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us, when will this be, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?" Jesus answered them, "Beware that no one leads you astray. For many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Messiah,' and they will lead many astray. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed, for this must take place, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All this is but the beginnings of the birth pangs." I was reflecting on those times in our lives when we kind of wake up and go, wait, where am I? You know, like let's say I'm in the middle of a relationship, and it's not really a relationship, but I kind of just let it go to a point. It's like I never really thought I would be with this person, and now I'm kind of, I've divorced myself from who I am. And all of a sudden I awaken and go, this is not me. Or maybe you find that you're living somewhere. Maybe not at this age, but you know, maybe when I was in my 20s or so, I go like, wow, I'm living in a total dump. Like, what happened? How did I get to this place? And sometimes you see this in the movies when somebody has an awakening, and it's like they go into high gear to sort through all their stuff and throw out everything that's not applicable and have this fresh start, this sense of like, okay, I'm going to go through all my stuff. I think about a movie where some guy's an alcoholic and he traces all the hidden bottles of alcohol and he puts them all in the dumpster, and he's like, okay, today's going to be a fresh start. And I remember an individual I was working with who perpetually had a mound of clothes in her bedroom. I mean, like a large mound that was probably waist high, just clothes sitting there. And so I was asking her, so what's up with the mound of clothes? And she's like, well, I need to put those away. And, you know, I was like, well, do you want to just do that now? Because I'm that kind of person. Why don't we just do it now? Be done. Well, no, I just, you know, I need to, I'll get to it. Don't worry, I'll get to it. And week after week, the mound did not change much. The top layer did, but it was always sort of there. And I said, you know what, let's do this. I'll come over on Saturday and we'll tackle that mound. So I'll give you a couple of days to get ready. And she was like, okay, let's give it a shot. So my approach was I held up the piece of clothes and go, okay, in the closet, in the Goodwill, or in storage. No, I don't know, put that one aside. I don't know, I'm not sure what that one is. Okay, how about this one? Well, I mean that, I guess that one can go in the closet. Well, no, wait, no, just leave it for a second, I'll come back to it. This person had a real hard time. It took us about 3 hours till we got to the mound down to nothing. It was quite tiring. So much anxiety around what to do with these pieces of clothing. And if you've ever sorted through clothes, you know, what's the thing? Well, you never know when you might need this. That's always the thing, right? I just want to, you know, have 75 pairs of shoes. You don't know when you might need those. Okay. So I have a rule for myself. If I have not worn something in a year, then it's gone. It's finished. Now, of course, there are moments where like, man, I used to really like this. I put it on, I go like, this does not seem like me anymore. But part of me goes like, yeah, but I used to really look good in this. Or I used to think I looked good in this. Or maybe I'm going like, maybe I never looked good in this. So it's an interesting process when you're seeking to transform. Because there is a desire or a subconscious fear of holding on to aspects of ourselves that we don't really wear anymore, may not really fit anymore. And on several levels they don't fit. They don't fit physically. They don't fit the image that we now, how we see ourselves. And yet it's torturous to decide to give it away or throw it out. So what do we want to do? Well, put it in the closet and I'll get to it. Now Jesus is talking about something that happens on the path. Of course, in the mystical path we realize that the outer events mirror the inner experience of transformation. And so the temple was destroyed around the time of when he actually died. Apparently there was an earthquake and the temple, came crashing down. And he says to them, take a look around at this temple. Not one stone will remain upon the other. So we have to use our meditation skills and our understanding of how the path works to go, okay, this is an inner experience. The structures of the temple within me, I guess they all have to come down. So what is a temple? A temple is a place where I go and worship my understanding of God. And you will find as you really commit to the path, and you really begin to come here, come to our things that we do 3 times a week, 4 times a week, so you're constantly reminded of the consciousness that we are cultivating. You begin to see that the temple that you have created doesn't actually represent a place of worship for God. It represents something else that has been in the place of God. It could be my mind and my intellect, my analytical ability. It could be food. It could be alcohol. I create a way to make sure that I can have that connection. I mean, we all know, for all of us who have been addicted, part of us goes, I know this is wrong, but nobody's going to take it away from me until I'm ready. Because it fits that role of giving me something when I'm in my worst state. So here we are now, where the temple is falling apart. And so the things the places that we used to go that used to feel like, okay, this represents what really works for me, I go, this doesn't really work for me anymore. And the way that I saw myself for so long is melting off, and now I go, oh, actually, I am beginning to see myself in a rawer and truer form. And it's very uncomfortable. I think about when people gut a house to the studs. They call it a gut rehab. Now, if you've never done that before, as you tear things apart, it can be quite scary. It's like, wow, I used to live here, and or I just bought the place, and I'm pounding all the walls down and ripping up all the floors, and it doesn't look good. And unless you have the vision, it can be quite scary. It's like, well, what if this isn't going to go back together properly? What if I won't have enough money? What if it doesn't look that good when I'm done? And so there's a phase that can be kind of panicky, where we all of a sudden have to go, maybe I'm not doing the right thing. Maybe I shouldn't have done this. But in a way, it's kind of too late, because some of those things have already been ripped off and thrown into the dumpster. And so it's a very uncomfortable phase of going, well, the only thing that gets us through is faith, right? It's going like, well, I hope this works out. It will. It will work out because God is driving the ship. And so, in my experience on this path, it always works out. Maybe not as quickly as we would like, maybe not in the way that renders us in the greatest light for a period of time. We do have to be willing to see what is behind the drywall, what has been stuffed in the walls there, what is underneath the floors, what kind of stuff is just swept under and covered up. And that's a really difficult process. It's real spirituality. I used to go to a lot of talks and a lot of events, spiritual events, seeking some kind of hopeful, okay, is this the thing that I want to do? What I want to do is I want to be right alongside of those who want to do the gut rehab on their operating system, on their belief system, and rebuild it so the temple actually is a temple of worship for the Christ within. That's the spirituality that works for me. And some of the other stuff that is out there is interesting. It's engaging, I guess. It's not that engaging to me because I see this process of transformation, right? I was thinking about that word, transformation, because when you have Trans, for example, transsexual, that's changing one's sexuality. Transportation, changing the location of something. Transformation, changing the format, changing the structure of something. And changing the structure of something means we got to go right down to the foundation and find out, first of all, if the foundation is solid or not. So this part of spirituality is like, it's the real deal, because you're going to be rebuilt with a solid foundation, and then what? Well, then hopefully you will be one of those people who reaches back behind you and helps those who are not yet there. And if everybody did this, then it wouldn't take that long. I mean, I don't know, my estimate, maybe 10 to 20 years, if everybody was doing this. Because some of us are going to be really hyper-motivated, and we're going to knock this thing out in 2 to 3 years, and then we're ready to start pulling people. I mean, you can pull people before you get there, but really, to be really confident and really strong, because you're going to be reaching back and people are going to be pulling you the other way, because it's scary. You're pulled up here to the front. I mean, if you've ever kind of done that type of thing, I mean, we're kind of in a compromised position, right? So you've got to have good muscular structure to be able to pull somebody from this, without turning around and sort of, you got to keep your focus to the front. And that's what turns me on. That's the spirituality that turns me on. Let's get everybody tuned into their spiritual life and get them focused on the presence of the divinity within, and then let's see what this world looks like. In the meantime, you guys have chosen to dismantle or let the temple be destroyed. The temple is not destroyed by me, it's not destroyed by you. It's destroyed by the presence of, you see the last line, which is the most intriguing, right? This is the beginning of the birth pangs. So the birth of the presence of the Christ. Of course, the Christ is not a child, but we experience it as it's being birthed within us. A new presence is stepping in. And the presence of that light is what destroys the temple. It's kind of odd because you don't think of light as having that kind of power. But it's because this is not a physical structure that is destroyed. It is a structure of consciousness that is shrouded in darkness. Darkness meaning lack of love and lack of understanding, and lack of clarity. And there are also other branches of darkness, maybe selfishness or pride or ego or fear or anxiety or laziness. These are all traits that we have taken on to some degree because they have allowed us to keep a certain type of temple intact. And that temple is generally to protect us from being hurt by other people. So it's not all bad. Most of us were not treated that well growing up. And so we're going to trust that that is no longer the way. The way is not of protection. God will protect us. I mean, I can assure you that if you become a worker for the light, you are going to be hurt. You're not going to be killed, I don't think. And even if your physical body is killed, it's not that big of a deal. But emotionally it will be painful because as you bring light to other people, the elements of them that are not ready for that darkness to be shown up are going to lash out. And so we look to Jesus and Mary as the ones who endured that. I mean, Jesus endured it to the point where they executed him. And they say that Mother Mary's passion was the internal version, the feminine version, watching the Son that she knew to be a perfect representation of Christ, scourged and executed in front of her eyes. She watched that, and that was her passion. And in order not to become hateful to those who were killing her son, that led to the transformation for her, where they say she went from Mother of the Lord to Queen of Heaven. That was a dramatic transformation for her. I mean, imagine that. Imagine watching this frothing, crazy mob excited about killing your son or your daughter, whatever, somebody you love. And your promise to God was that you would not hate these people, that you would somehow keep your heart open to them. That has to change you from the inside. Okay, we're not at that level, right? So let's not try to be. But anytime we go, oh my God, this is so hard, we look to them and go, that looked a lot harder. So let's just take a couple of deep breaths and just put things in perspective. Remember, the vision is that we want heaven on earth. And we want to be contributors to that. So we first have to become our Christ itself, and then we have to decide to what degree we're willing to help other people. Now, when we're becoming the Christ itself, I don't want you to put tremendous pressure on yourself to be someone who's helping, because we don't want to get into a prideful arena where we're trying to be further along than we are. Really, if you trust in the priest, you will get instruction as to when to, okay, we're shifting the focus now. But right now, the focus is really yourself and your process, and it takes as long as it takes. I think it's good to be generous with your energy and forthcoming. But when your temple is being destroyed, it's not always that easy. So, we don't want to be martyrs. We always want to be giving from the right spirit. It's okay to make a sacrifice, but let's not take it beyond the level that we can actually live with. And this time of year is the time, really, where we ask for the temple, where we're asking for the temple to be destroyed. By the things that we're abstaining from, we're creating additional pressure on our beings. That's one of the beauties of Lent, is that we say, okay, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. So those things that have allowed me sometimes to be soothed through difficult times, I'm taking away that option. So that accentuates the things that I'm seeing that are trying to fall apart. But the beauty is that Easter Sunday comes, and that's symbolic of the resurrection. So whatever we get to over the next 5 weeks or so, that's going to be good. We don't have to expect to knock out the entire path in one season. So let's let what is ready to be destroyed fall apart. Let's have faith that we are in the process of, we're going to get down to the studs, and we're going to get down to the foundation, and meticulously we're going to make sure our new foundation is in Christ, in God. And then slowly but surely we will rebuild a new temple.